Welcome back to the reading of A Good Kind of Trouble by Lisa Moore Ramey. Today we're going to be reading chapters 49, No Justice, No Peace, chapter 50, The 405, chapter 51, Woke, and chapter 52, All Black. Now we leave Shayla after her confrontation with some of the girls on the track team, Angie, Natalie. They were very upset that she broke up with Tyler or maybe was leading Tyler on, making him think that they were going out. And now we're back at school, and she's talking about what happened. So, chapter 49. Nobody is trying to fight me, but track is still sort of awful. Even though we ended up laughing over the ridiculousness of me trying to fight them, I guess Natalie and Angie aren't exactly cool with me yet. All 4 relay team girls ignore me. I wonder if Carmetta and Maya think I dogged Tyler too. Angie comes into lane 2 over from me to practice hurdling, and I catch her eyes and try to send her a whole lot of words in one look. How I want to be friends. And it's a joke to say I think I'm too good when I don't think I'm good at all. And that we are both sisters, so we're connected. And that it was silly for me to act like Tyler and I were talking. But I didn't mean anything by it. Maybe a fraction of what I was trying to say, Angie caught, because she does give me a half smile, but then she just goes past in a blur. Practice starts to wind down, and we're all stretching out our sore muscles and guzzling water. Coach Wes's phone has been rattling on a bench for the last few minutes, but she's been ignoring it. But when it starts vibrating again, she picks it up and reads something. I'm guessing it's bad news, because her face gets worried and sort of sad. She sighs and then blows her whistle a few times. Let's wrap it up. Clean up and clear out. I want to ask her if everything is okay, but she crosses her arms tight and stares up at the clouds, and I can hear the words "don't bother me," even though she doesn't say a word. We all help to put away the practice equipment and move the hurdles off the track. And then we head out the front of the school to wait for our rides. When I climb into the car, I notice Mama's expression right away. She looks a whole lot like the way Coach West was looking when she got that message on her phone. What's wrong? I ask Mama. My stomach squeezes like I drank too much water. Mama doesn't answer right away. She has her bottom lip clenched by her teeth. But then finally she lets go of the sigh she's been holding. Verdict came back. They found that police officer not guilty. What? I say. And not because I didn't hear her, but because there's no way that could be true. But there was a video. I know, Shayla. Mom almost sounds like she's mad at me. How could that happen? I ask. She shot that man. The jury must have believed she thought her life was in jeopardy. But he was walking away. As much as I hated seeing that video, I've watched it a bunch of times. All I saw was a man walking slowly to his truck, and then a police officer started shooting. Shooting until the man fell down in the street. I know, Shayla. That's when I notice a tear slowly working its way down Mama's cheek. One lonely, sad tear that slides all the way down to her chin. Then Mama swipes it away with the back of her hand. Seeing Mama cry makes me want to cry too. My chest gets heavy and my throat gets small. It's hard to swallow. My eyes start to burn, and even though tears don't come, it feels like I've been crying for days. On the drive home, we pass a big group of people standing at an intersection, waving signs and shouting. They're shouting so loud. I can hear them even though my window is rolled up. They're shouting about how we matter, how we need justice, how the verdict was racist. I see a sign that says honk for justice. And so I tell Mama to honk her horn, but she doesn't. When we get home, Hannah and Daddy are talking in the family room. It looks like Hannah's been crying. Hannah never cries, even when she gets checked real hard in a game. Daddy looks up at Mama. You heard? People already out protesting. Mama goes and sits next to Daddy. I stand there, wanting to curl up in Mama's lap, but knowing I'm far too old for that. I don't know what to do. A car horn beeps outside, and Hannah wipes her face with a quick brush of her hand and jumps off the couch. That's Regina, she says, and heads to the front door. Hannah, Daddy says, and I'm sure he's going to tell her that she can't go, that it might be unsafe out there, that she needs to stay right here at home. But all he says is be careful. Don't do anything stupid. Mama, I say, hoping Mama will stop my sister. Outside seems scary and unsafe. She holds her hand out to me. I join her on the couch. You heard your father, she asks Hannah. I'll be okay, says Hannah. And then she's gone. So this is the chapter in which we find out what the verdict is going to be. Meanwhile, at track practice, Shayla is not getting a very warm reception by the other black girls on the track team. They're still pretty aggravated with her about how she treated Tyler. And then we hear the coach's phone is beeping, and she gets in the car with Mama, and the verdict has been found to be not guilty. And Shayla really wants to feel a connection with the black girls on the track team, but they're really not interested right now. Maybe later on they will be, but not right now. So chapter 50, moving on. We're on page 263 in the book. Here it is right here. So get yourself there and follow along in your book. The 405. Where did Hannah go? I ask Mama. Mama has a rule about us all eating as a family. Nothing is supposed to get in the way of the four of us sitting down at the same time. When it's basketball season and Hannah has practice, we have to eat either really super early or super late. But Hannah's not back yet, and Mama is spooning out the red beans and rice. Mama, she looks over at Daddy, and he looks back at her. And then Daddy says, your sister is marching on the 405. The 405? She's marching on the freeway? Mama sets the pot down and settles in her chair. She holds out both her hands. Why is Hannah on the freeway? Did Regina's car break down? Shouldn't we go and get them? I ask, taking hold of Mama's hand. Daddy takes my other hand, and he has to reach far over because normally he holds Hannah's, and then she holds mine. Mama gives my hand a squeeze, and I bow my head. Usually our prayer before dinner is really fast. Just a quick, thank you God for the food, and sometimes Daddy will add something silly like, thanking God for Mama's brown eyes, or for not getting caught in a traffic jam on the way home from work. But tonight, Mama's voice is slow and serious, and after she gives thanks for the food, she says something that makes my eyes pop open. And protect our daughter Hannah. as she struggles to understand the horrible shootings and this troubling verdict. Keep her on the path of peace and nonviolence, and give solace to the poor families, Lord, who have lost young men way too soon. Mama gives my hand another squeeze, reminding me I'm supposed to have my eyes closed. I shut them quick. May we find strength in your love, Lord. Amen, we all say together. Is Hannah okay? I ask. Yes, sugar, Mama says. Black Lives Matter organized a march on the 405 to protest the ruling, to make people see that we need to get justice too. You know, in this city, anything that affects traffic is going to get noticed. Before I have time to be scared, I ask, can I go? Mama shakes her head, but Daddy says, maybe she should. No, Mama says, I'm not having my baby caught up in that. Not yet. Sometimes I like it when Mama calls me her baby. And sometimes, like right now, it makes me feel like I'm about 2. But Mama, this is about reminding people that Black Lives Matter. I'm black too. Shouldn't I be supporting us? You don't have to march across the freeway to support African Americans. Besides, it's a school night. I know my mouth has some food in it, but it hangs open anyway. Close your mouth before flies get in, Mama says. After dinner, Daddy turns on the news, and we see a row of protesters blocking the freeway. It's like a movie instead of real life. It's all smoky, but Daddy tells me it's just exhaust from all the cars and headlights make the protesters look like they're on stage. Helicopters are high above them. A reporter says protesters are being warned to get off the freeway. Is that illegal? I ask, blocking the freeway like that? Yes, Daddy says, technically. But sometimes you have to do something that's wrong in people's eyes, but it's morally right. A whole bunch of police cars come onto the freeway, blue and red lights flashing, and they use a lane that's just for emergencies to zoom by all the stopped cars. My hands start to itch. Are they going to arrest them? I ask, but no one answers me. I get closer to the television and I try to see if I can find Hannah, but Mama tells me to scoot back so I don't ruin my eyes. My eyes don't seem like the important thing, but I scoot back anyway. Police officers get into a long line facing off against the protesters, but the officers have shields in front of them like they're worried that the protesters might hurt them. I rub my hands on my pants hard, back and forth, until Mama kneels next to me and holds my hands, making them quiet. They should leave, I say. They're going to get in trouble. The smoke thickens, like a blanket of fog is creeping over the freeway. And Daddy says it looks like the police are using tear gas to get the protesters to move. What's going to happen? My voice is wobbly and my eyes start filling up with tears, even though no one shot me with any gas. I wish there was something I could do to help. I think the police are going to start arresting people. But then the protesters file off the freeway, waving their Black Lives Matter signs, and my heart drops out of my throat and back to where it's supposed to be. Mama lets go of my hands and tells me to go take a bath. I want to keep watching the news to make sure nothing else happens, but I know better than to argue. When I go to bed, Hannah is still not home. So this is another important chapter. We're right at the climax of the story here. And Hannah and her friend Regina have taken to the 405, which is a very busy freeway, in the hopes of shutting down traffic and getting people to recognize that the verdict of not guilty was not the right verdict. So Hannah goes to a BLM protest on the freeway to protest the not guilty verdict. That's the summary of this chapter. Now we're moving on to chapter 51. It's called Woke. and it's on page 268. And a lot of times when you hear the word woke, you think of, I woke up. I woke up from my sleep. And we're also using this term to be woke in another way, similar to waking up in the morning. It's like waking up to the injustice that is happening in the world today with these violent actions and these verdicts that don't seem to create any justice for the people that have been wronged. So, let's go. In the morning, I knock on Hannah's door. I have this awful feeling that she won't be there, like maybe she got arrested or worse. But her sleepy voice croaks. What? I open the door slowly. Are you okay? I whisper. Hannah sits up in bed and yawns really big before answering. I'm fine, I'm just tired. A bunch of people got arrested though. They set a car on fire and broke some windows. The police went off. I take a little gulpy breath. But they didn't shoot anyone? No, not this time. Hannah yawns again. What do you want? I take a step inside. This is risky because Hannah doesn't like me in her room. Hannah's room is decorated with a big poster from Love and Basketball, her favorite movie, and a campaign poster from back when Barack Obama was president. Right next to that is a picture of Colin Kaepernick with his afro shaped into the big black power fist. I stared at Hannah's poster of two track runners from the Olympics, Tommy Smith and John Carlos, with their fists raised on the winner's platform. They got their medals taken away for protesting. It must have been a lot of courage to stand up in front of all those people and show them fairness is more important than winning a race. I don't think I could ever be that brave. What? Hannah says. Now her voice doesn't sound sleepy. It sounds exasperated. Weren't you scared? I ask. Kind of, Hannah says. And I'm surprised because I didn't think Hannah was ever afraid. She picks up her armband, which was twisted up like a snake on her bed, and starts pulling it through her fingers. I mean, I don't know. I don't actually want to actually get arrested, but I guess I was more angry than scared. Everybody said the police officer was going to get off, just like they always do. I didn't want to believe it. But that's just what happened. And it's, like our lives don't matter at all. We have to make noise. Wake folks up. I don't know how to make noise. And I sure don't know how to not be afraid of getting in trouble. But I want to do something. I watch Hannah twisting her armband round and round. And I look at Colin Kaepernick and her Olympic poster. And then I get an idea. It's an itchy hands idea. I take a deep breath like I'm about to jump into a pool. Do you have another armband? Hannah gives me the side eye, but then she gets out of bed, rustles through her t-shirt drawer, and pulls out a black t-shirt. Then she takes some scissors and she cuts off the bottom of the shirt. Here you go, she says. When I tie it on, I feel proud. Even though I know it's not a big deal, it's just an armband. It's not like I'm marching on a freeway. No one will probably even notice that I'm wearing it. So I don't understand why my hands are seriously itchy. So, another huge moment. I think, in particular, the person who's actually woke at this moment is Shayla. She is completely understanding now what is going on. She understands her sister. She's understanding why the protests are happening. And now she's coming around from just understanding and she wants to take action. So usually first we have to think about things, check our emotions, figure out how we're feeling about things, and then when we're ready, we take action. And that's what Hannah's doing right now. She's decided she's going to go to school and she's going to wear that black armband that her sister wears. Now we remember back to Halloween when she just walked into that school dressed like a Black Panther for Halloween, which was completely legitimate, and Principal Trask told her to get the beret off her head and take off the jacket, and that the outfit was inappropriate. So maybe you have a little bit of an idea that about the black armband and how that might go over with the principal at the school. And she knows that. Shayla knows that, and that's why her hands are getting itchy. She is taking a risk. She's being brave right now to wear that black armband into school. So the last chapter for this video is chapter 52, and it's called All Black, on page 271. Make sure you're reading along in your book as usual. It's going to help you become a better reader. In science, Bernard notices my armband right off, and he asks me about it super loud. For BLM, I say, you know, Black Lives Matter. That jury must have been crazy, Bernard says, still talking too loud. You mean crazy smart, Howard Mitchin says. He sits next to me, and I sort of want to sock him. Even though Mr. Powell warned us that people would have different feelings no matter what the verdict was, and I'm still surprised anyone would think that jury made the right decision. No matter how I slice it, I still get the same lumpy, squashed up, unfair slice of pie. Bernard stares at Howard real hard. And you bet Howard doesn't say another word. Sit down, Bernard, Mr. Levy says. Then in history, Alex asks about it. And he gives me a high five when I tell him what it's for. Mr. Powell says that all throughout history, people have protested unfair things. He doesn't say the verdict is unfair, but, I bet that that's what he's talking about. He also says that sometimes feelings like they're going to get a whole lot worse before they start to get better. Change is hard, he says, rubbing the edge of his scarf. It sure is, except maybe for Julia, who's changing all over the place. Mr. Powell lets us out early, and I'm the first to get to our break spot. It's not until I'm sitting there that I realize Isabella might be sick and Julia might not be coming at all. But then they both turn the corner of one of the portables, and they join me under the magnolia tree, just like regular. I haven't talked to Julia since she stormed off, but neither of us mentions it. Why are you wearing that? Isabella asks, pointing at my armband. She still sounds hoarse. Didn't you hear about the verdict, I say? Isabella shakes her head. It's such a big deal in my house. It never really occurred to me that not everybody was on the edge of their seats waiting to see what the jury was going to do. It's to remind people that Black Lives Matter, because sometimes it seems like that's not what everyone thinks. Like you're all black now, Julia says, making a snorting sound. Oh, no, she didn't. What's that supposed to mean? You don't even act black, Julia says, like she knows all about it. Maybe it's my stored up hurt feelings, but no way am I going to let Julia get away with saying stuff like that. What, you think being African American means being in a ghetto or something? You've known me for how long? No matter how I act, I'm still black, Julia. How would you feel if someone said you had to act a certain way or you wouldn't really be Asian? People do, Julia snaps back, all the time, like I have to be sweet and quiet. Julia says sweet like it's the worst thing anybody could be. I know people have all sorts of stereotypes about Asians, but I don't. I've never said that, I say. You've never been quiet. She's also never been sweet. But I don't say that. Isabella holds up her hand for me to give her a high five. You know, that's the truth, she says, and laughs. I think she's probably just trying to make Julia and me stop arguing. But I have to slap her hand anyway. I know, Julia shouts at us, not amused. Obviously, you guys get me. But people act like they already know all about me just because I'm Asian. And my aunts act like I'm a big disappointment if I'm not perfect all of the time. Ha! Isabella says. Try being Latina. Isabella's eyes go wide like she's startled herself. And then she shakes her head. Seriously, guys, people think we all come from Mexico or that we're Mexicans and that we're probably here illegally. I've never even been to Mexico. Isabella frowns, fists her hair together, and wraps it up into a big sloppy bun. She pulls her legs to her chest and rests her chin on her knees. People are dumb. Mama tells me I need to look outside myself more. Maybe she's talking about stuff like this. Noticing my friends have problems too. But it seems like I'm the only one that has to worry about someone in my family getting shot. Still, I nod and agree. Okay, we all have our stuff. Then I lead toward Julia. So you shouldn't say something like that about me being black, Jules, I say. My best friends should know. I have never had trouble saying best friends to Julia before. Then the bell rings. Instead of sprinting off as usual, Isabella straightens up and sighs. Shay's right. We all have something, so let's not fight about it, okay? When neither Julia nor I say anything right away, Isabella says, okay? A little louder and more forcefully. Okay, Julia and I both say at the same time. But neither of us sounds happy about it. Good, Isabella says. I'd make you hug it out, but I gotta go. She shakes her head at both of us before running off. Cool? Julia asks me and holds out her fist. Cool, I say, and bump her fist with mine. When I get to PE, I have to take it off to change. But then what? Should I tie it back on? Is it part of my school clothes? Would Coach West have a problem with me wearing it? She's the only black teacher that I have, and I think she'd understand about the armband, but I also don't want it to be a big deal. I put the armband in my gym locker, but when I see Yolanda, I wish I was wearing it. She doesn't seem happy to see me at all, and I don't want to give up Isabella or Julia, but it really would be nice, to have a friend who understands me. Sorry, I lost my place. Or knew how it felt to be in a classroom of kids who stare at you when their teacher decides to show some of the Roots ministries. A friend whose dad listens to old school R&B and likes to cha-cha in the kitchen and sing about how today was a good day. A friend who knows being black means all sorts of things. A friend who shares this awful thing, this feeling like maybe the world sort of hates you because of the color of your skin. Hi, Yolanda. I talk loud, trying to show her how happy I am to see her. Hi, she says, but she doesn't show me her upside down Y. You've been really into your project in shop. I hope I sound interested and not complaining. She's been so into working hard on her project, she basically ignores me completely in shop now. I don't know if she thinks I was mean to Tyler, but I really wasn't trying to be. In PE, he's not around, so maybe she won't get stuck on that. And maybe she doesn't have a birdhouse or electric wiring to distract her. In PE, we can go back to the way it used to be, when I felt like we were becoming friends. At least I hope so. I guess, she says. Her head swivels around like she's looking for something or somebody. Somebody who isn't me. Your hair looks great today, I say. It's actually not very exciting this time. It's just two basic braids. But it's not like I can say that. Maybe Yolanda knows I was giving her a fake compliment because she doesn't even say thank you. She just blows air through her teeth. Maybe you should come over one day after school, I say. I'm still smiling really big, even though she's not smiling at all. Oh, she says, I'd have to ask. Okay, I say, as if she said, yes, I'd love to come over and hang out and eat chips and giggle about boys and try your mama's fried chicken and become super good friends. I'm good at pretending sometimes. I nod and I say it again. Okay. Coach West blows her whistle and we line up to pick teams for softball. Yolanda is a team captain, and she doesn't pick me, even though everybody knows your friend is absolutely the first person you should pick. But maybe she doesn't pick me because I do strike out a lot. After English, I walk slowly to our lunch table, the tails of my armband hanging limply down my arm. Miss Jacobs didn't seem to notice my armband, but she did talk about the next book we were going to read, To Kill a Mockingbird. She said it's about a big trial, and that the South, when it was super prejudiced and racist against black people. That's not the way she said it. And about people not treating other people fairly. And it feels like we're living that story right now, so I don't really think we need to read a book about it. What about Brown Girl Dreaming? I say without meaning to. Miss Jacobs looks at me, startled. Excuse me? My neck got hot, and I don't usually think out loud. But Daddy's right. There's a whole bunch of perspectives out there that we should learn from. It's just, we could read books by, other people. Miss Jacobs got a little frowny face, and I'm guessing she's not used to anyone suggesting a different book. Somebody laughed behind me, and I sure wish Miss Jacobs would stop looking at me. I started picking at my desk. Black people have something to say, too, I say, so softly. It was nothing more than a whisper. Thankfully, the bell rang and I was able to escape to lunch. When I join Isabella and Julia at our lunch table, I look over where Alex stood singing, and I think about getting up there and yelling about my life mattering. But I sure don't do it. I twirl the ends of my armband around and around. It almost feels like it's Halloween again, and I'm just in a protesting costume. Maybe you should bring me an armband, Isabella says, like she knows I'm feeling kind of sad. It's for Black Lives Mattering, Julia says. Isabella shrugs. Well, I'm brown. Seems like that's close enough. And, technically Shayla's brown too. You don't have to be black to support Black Lives Matter, I say. Inside, I'm wondering, though, would it be okay for Isabella to wear an armband? And there we have it. This chapter is titled All Black, maybe for a few reasons, because she's wearing her black armband. She gets into a conversation with Julia about what it means to be black, and she herself has been thinking a lot about that. She's trying desperately to be friends with Yolanda and thinking to herself it would be really nice to have a good friend who knows what it's like to be black, to have a dad who likes R&B and talks about the same things at home. So Shayla is really continuing her idea of waking up to what it means for her to have a racial identity of being a black girl. And then she has a very good conversation with her friends, and they talk about the stereotypes that are true for people who are Latino and for people who are Asian. Julia says, just because I'm Asian, that doesn't mean I'm quiet and perfect and always doing the right thing. That's a stereotype. And Isabella, who's a Latina girl, says, just because I'm Hispanic, it does not mean that I'm from Mexico. Everybody assumes I'm from Mexico. Or that I'm here illegally, that I'm not in the country with permission. So the girls have an actual, really deep conversation about race, which is amazing. That's a really grown up conversation that these characters are having. And I can't help but feel like super proud of them as I read that dialogue between them. And it's not a comfortable conversation, it's a tough conversation. And usually, conversations about race can be tough. Everyone's worried, is someone going to feel like their feelings are hurt, or is my opinion going to make you feel angry or feel like what I'm saying is racist? And they have to be brave enough to have that conversation, and they do. And at the very end of the chapter, it's actually so cool. Isabella says, "Hey, can I have an armband too?" You know, she's the more empathetic friend in the friend group, and I think she's feeling that Shayla could really use some support right now, and she could use some support from her best friends. And we're going to find out in the next few chapters if she gets it or not. All right, there we go.